All right, so today we're doing something a little bit different.
Oh.
Yeah, we're still exploring personal growth,
Right.
but instead of like diving into a self-help book,
Mhm.
we're going to a YouTube video.
Interesting. So we're taking wisdom from unexpected sources.
That's the idea. We're going to break down a video by SimoneSquared.
Okay.
You know her.
Yeah. I've seen some of her stuff.
Yeah, she's a YouTuber who says she like completely changed her life in a year.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And we're trying to figure out like what actually worked for her.
Okay.
What stuff she says that might actually make sense for, other people too.
I see. So we're looking for those little nuggets of wisdom.
Exactly. And I think we're going to find some surprising stuff.
Okay.
Like, you know how self-help books can be kind of
Yeah.
formulaic?
Yeah.
Simone's story is like that,
Yeah.
but way more personal
Hmm.
and like, more
That's
authentic.
some gin cake.
Exactly. So she starts the video with this like before and after
Mhm.
thing. Like a year ago, she was unhappy, lost, going through a breakup.
Right.
And now she's living in Melbourne, traveling the world, totally thriving.
Wow, what a turnaround.
I know, right? And get this, she describes herself as skinny as fuck
Oh, really?
in both the before and after.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it makes you wonder about her priorities a little bit.
It does. It might say something about her self-image, though.
Yeah, maybe.
Like she's confident and comfortable in her own skin no matter what.
Yeah, maybe that's part of her whole vibe.
Could be. But anyway, back to the timeline.
Yeah.
She says this whole transformation only took 3 months.
Yeah, crazy, right?
It makes you wonder what caused such a quick change.
Well, she's pretty open about what triggered it, the breakup.
Yeah, heartbreak can definitely be a catalyst for growth.
For sure. But I'm curious, what about you? What are your reasons for wanting to change?
That's a good question.
Like, what's pushing you towards a new chapter in your life?
I think it's different for everyone. Sometimes it's a big life event, like Simone's breakup.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it's just this nagging feeling that something needs to change.
Yeah, totally. It's like an inner voice telling you it's time to move on.
Exactly. The key is to recognize that feeling and use it to fuel your growth.
Okay, so Simone talks about this delusional period of happiness after she got over her ex.
Illusional period of happiness.
Yeah. I mean, part of me wants to laugh.
Right?
But is that always a bad thing?
It's an interesting thought.
Like, what if instead of delusional, we call it radical self-belief?
Ooh, I like that.
Right.
Yeah, it's like when you truly believe in yourself, good things start to happen.
Exactly. You're more likely to take risks, attract opportunities, and like actually make your dreams a reality.
I mean, there's that saying, right?
Which one?
Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Oh, yeah. So maybe a little delusion can actually be helpful.
It seems that way.
So moving on to like her actual advice.
Okay, let's hear it.
She really emphasizes the importance of clarity.
Clarity.
Like knowing exactly what you want is crucial to actually getting it.
It's like setting your GPS, right? You need a destination.
Totally. And there's a ton of research on this stuff.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like goal-setting frameworks, like SMART goals.
Mm-hmm.
They all emphasize being specific about what you want.
Right. When you have a clear goal in mind, it's easier to stay focused.
Totally. And Simone, even though she's not like citing research papers, she's tapping into a really important principle.
Absolutely.
Speaking of staying focused,
Yes.
Simone's really big on being patient with yourself.
Oh, patience is key.
Yeah. She even tells the story about trying to change everything overnight when she was 18.
Oh, I've been there.
And totally failing.
It's tempting to think we can change everything at once.
I know, right?
But real growth is a slow process.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. It's about those small, consistent changes that add up over time.
Yeah. It's like building a muscle. You can't expect to be ripped after one workout.
Yeah, right. It takes time, effort, and consistency.
Okay, this is where things get really interesting.
I'm listening.
Simone talks about isolating herself during lockdown.
Yeah, we all did that to some extent.
Right, but she also mentions intentionally isolating herself back in 2019
Really? Why?
to focus on building her YouTube career.
2 different situations, but a similar strategy.
Yeah, and that strategy actually has a name. Deep work.
Deep work.
Yeah, it's about carving out distraction-free time
Okay.
to really focus on a task.
I
It's like
forgot.
writers going to cabins in the woods to write.
Or athletes training in isolation.
Exactly. Simone, in her own way, was doing the same thing.
So by removing distractions, she could give her YouTube goals 100%.
Exactly. And she's like super passionate about this idea
About what?
that finding time is all about priorities.
Oh, that's a good one.
Like if you really want something,
yeah,
you'll make time for it, no excuses.
it's easy to say I don't have time.
I know, I do it all the time.
Right. But she's challenging that excuse.
Yeah. She's saying it's not about a lack of time.
It's about how we choose to spend the time we do have.
Exactly. And when your goals are clear, like she talks about,
Yeah.
making sacrifices doesn't feel so bad.
It's more like an investment.
Exactly. Okay, get ready for some serious motivation. Because Simone gets really fired up when she talks about making the most of every week.
I love that energy.
And never giving up. She's like a human espresso shot.
I can imagine.
And while her delivery might be a little intense for some people,
yeah.
her message is spot on.
What is it?
That consistent effort, no matter how small, is the key to achieving any goal.
It's like compound interest.
Right. Small, consistent deposits add up over time.
Exactly. It's about playing the long game.
And she's a big believer in making new connections.
Oh, interesting.
Like meeting new people can lead to new opportunities.
And new perspectives.
Totally. It's like what we're doing right now, exploring her ideas.
I see what you mean.
And it makes you think, what role does your social network play in your own growth?
That's a good question to ask ourselves.
Right. Are you surrounded by people who inspire you and challenge you?
Or are you stuck with the same old crowd?
Exactly. So Simone is all about embracing change and being adaptable.
Okay.
She even says she feels like a new person every 3 months.
Wow. Every 3 months.
I know it's a lot, but I can see how that mindset could be helpful.
It definitely highlights the fact that personal growth isn't linear.
Right.
It's about constantly evolving, discovering new parts of ourselves.
And comparing yourself to others during that process is a recipe for disaster.
Totally agree. It's your journey, no one else's.
So then Simone has this moment of self-awareness.
Oh.
She mentions outgrowing her clown.
Outgrowing her clownery.
Yeah. She's turning 22 and feels more mature.
Right. It's natural for our interest to change as we get older.
Exactly. Like what we find funny or engaging at one stage of life might not appeal to us later on.
Absolutely. It's all part of growing up.
And finally, she wraps things up by saying that visualizing your goals isn't enough. You have to actually take action and change your mindset.
It's about moving from thinking to doing.
Exactly. Daydreaming is fun, but it won't get you very far.
It's about taking control and creating the life you want.
You know, Simone could have been a motivational speaker.
I could see that.
She's got that raw, unfiltered style that's both entertaining and thought-provoking.
And what I find interesting is how her sometimes abrasive language actually makes her more authentic.
It's like she's not trying to sugarcoat anything.
Exactly. She's being real. And that can be really refreshing.
So before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to hear from you.
Okay.
What resonated most with you from Simone's story so far?
What stood out as relatable or insightful?
And more importantly, what's one small step you can take today to move closer to the change you want?
Remember, personal growth is a journey, and every step counts.
We'll be right back to continue our deep dive into Simone's world.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, so we're back. And
back in Simone's world.
Yeah. You know, something that really struck me about her.
What's that?
She doesn't really seem to think life is that hard.
You know, you're right.
Right.
She seems to have this really positive outlook even when talking about challenges.
It's like she doesn't see them as like big obstacles.
More like temporary hurdles.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a real resilience there.
Yeah, she's got this bring it on attitude. Like she's ready to tackle anything.
Yeah.
But is that realistic? Like life can be tough.
Oh, absolutely. Challenges are a part of life.
Right.
But what seems to set Simone apart is her mindset.
Oh, okay.
It's not about pretending everything's perfect.
Right.
It's about how you choose to approach those challenges.
So instead of dwelling on the negative, she focuses on solutions and moving forward.
Exactly. It's a very proactive approach.
It's like she's always looking for the way out.
And that can be really empowering.
Okay. She even says at one point that people who have a negative outlook on life probably won't have a very fulfilling experience.
Well, that's a pretty strong statement.
Yeah.
But there's some truth to it, don't you think?
Maybe.
I mean, if you're constantly focusing on the negative,
Yeah.
you might miss out on the good stuff.
The opportunities.
The experiences that bring joy and fulfillment.
Right.
It's like that classic question.
Which one?
Is the glass half empty or half full?
Oh, yeah.
Simone seems to always see it overflowing.
That's a good way to put it.
And that optimism can be really powerful.
Right.
It doesn't mean ignoring the challenges.
Yeah.
But it does mean approaching them with a solution-oriented mindset.
Okay, another thing that like really blew me away.
What's that?
Her dedication to her YouTube goals. She was working a full-time job,
Right.
going to school,
Yeah.
and still making videos every week.
That's incredible.
It's insane.
Yeah, it shows what's possible with passion and discipline.
Yeah, she really walked the walk.
Her story reminds us that we often have more capacity than we think.
Right.
It's about making conscious choices about how we spend our time and energy.
She even, describes her routine.
Yeah. Working all day, taking a power nap, then filming and editing till 5 a.m.
Wow.
I know.
That's dedication.
I'm tired just hearing about it.
Right.
I wonder if that's even sustainable long term.
That's a good point.
Burnout is a real thing.
Yeah. You have to find a pace that works for you.
Finding that balance is key.
Right. Pushing yourself, but also respecting your limits.
Okay, and then there's the whole isolation thing again.
Oh, right.
She talks about how isolating herself, both during lockdown and back in 2019, helped her focus.
So she used it as a tool.
Yeah.
I can see the benefits of that.
Right.
Like stepping away from distractions.
But I'm such a social person.
It's not about becoming a hermit or anything.
Right.
It's about recognizing the power of solitude.
For creativity and focus.
Exactly.
Okay, and then she has this no excuses policy when it comes to time.
No excuses.
She basically says, if you say you don't have time to achieve your dreams, you're lying to yourself.
Oof. I feel attacked.
Me too.
But is she right?
I think so. I think a lot of times.
Yeah.
It's not really about a lack of time.
It's about priorities.
Exactly. When we truly value something, we find a way to make time for it.
Even if it means making sacrifices.
Right. And going back to what we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
when your goals are clear,
Yeah.
it's easier to make those choices.
Because you know what you're working towards.
Exactly. It all comes back to clarity.
It's like she's saying, stop whining and get to work.
But in a nicer way.
Yeah. Speaking of which, she's not afraid to be blunt.
Right.
I kind of appreciate her honesty.
I do too.
But it might not be for everyone.
It can be a little jarring.
But I think that's part of what makes her authentic.
It's like she's not trying to please everyone.
Right.
She's sharing her experience and her truths.
Even if they're a little rough around the edges.
Exactly. And that can be really refreshing.
Okay, before we wrap up this part,
Yeah.
let's talk about her belief in connecting with new people. She sees it as a catalyst for growth and opportunity.
Like what we're doing now, right?
Yeah, exploring new ideas, seeing where they lead us.
It's a good reminder that we're not meant to go through life alone.
Right.
Connections with others can inspire us
Challenge us.
and open doors we never knew existed.
Simone's story really highlights the importance of our social network.
And being open to new connections.
She even compares it to, a butterfly effect.
The butterfly effect.
Where one small connection can ripple out and change your whole life.
I love that analogy.
Right.
It speaks to how interconnected our lives really are.
Yeah.
And how even seemingly small encounters can have a big impact.
Totally.
It's like a reminder to be open to every interaction.
Because you never know where it might lead.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we're back again.
Back for more Simone.
Yeah, I gotta say,
Yeah.
I'm finding her story pretty inspiring.
Me too. It's really something.
It's like
Yeah.
she's like this cool older sister I never had.
Giving you advice.
Yeah, but tough love kind of advice.
I like that. And what's interesting is...
How her story, even though it's super personal, it still resonates with so many people.
It's like a reminder that change is possible.
Right, no matter who you are or where you're starting from.
And you don't need
Yeah.
some fancy guru or complicated system.
You just need the right mindset.
Totally. And Simone, she's definitely not your typical self-help guru,
That's for sure.
which I think is part of why people like her.
She's relatable.
Yeah, she's raw, she's unfiltered.
Unapologetically herself.
Exactly. She's giving you permission to just be yourself.
Flaws and all.
Yeah, she's not trying to be this perfect Instagram version of personal growth.
It's refreshing.
Totally. Okay, let's get back to some of her advice.
Okay, what else stood out to you?
Her emphasis on taking action.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
It's not enough to just visualize your goals.
Right. You have to actually do something.
Make it happen.
That's where a lot of people get stuck.
I know, I do.
Yeah, dreaming is fun.
Mm-hmm.
But without action, it's just a dream.
She talks about consciously changing her environment
Oh, interesting.
and surrounding herself with new people.
To support her growth.
Exactly. It's like she understands that our surroundings can really influence us.
It's true. We underestimate the power of our environment.
Yeah, if you're constantly around negativity.
It's going to be hard to stay positive.
Right. But if you're surrounded by people who inspire you,
people who support your goals.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
Your environment can either lift you up or drag you down.
And she's also big on embracing change.
Adapting to new situations.
Remember how she said she feels like a new person every 3 months?
Oh, yeah, that was wild.
I'm still processing that one.
It's a lot.
But it shows how willing she is to evolve and push herself.
It highlights the fact that personal growth is a journey, not a destination.
And that we're constantly changing and growing.
It's not about reaching some endpoint.
It's about enjoying the process.
Exactly. And she also cautions against comparing ourselves to others.
Oh, yeah, that's so important.
It's easy to get caught up in that.
Especially with social media.
Right. Everyone's journey is different.
Celebrating our own progress is key.
Focusing on our own path.
Because comparing ourselves to others just leads to negativity.
Frustration and self-doubt.
I have to admit, I kind of laughed when she talked about outgrowing the clownery.
Outgrowing the clownery.
Yeah, she's turning 22.
It's like she's recognizing that we change as we get older.
Our interests and priorities shift.
What was once important might not be anymore.
And that's okay.
It's natural.
It's all part of growing up.
And figuring out who we are.
And finally, she ends her video by talking about perspective.
Oh, how so?
She believes that life is beautiful and wonderful.
Even with the challenges.
Yeah, it's all about how we choose to see things.
It's a powerful message.
Our perception shapes our reality.
If we focus on the positive,
Yeah.
we're more likely to experience joy and fulfillment.
Even when things are tough.
It's not about ignoring the hard stuff.
It's about choosing to see the good.
Finding the silver lining.
So SimoneSquared, she's given us a lot to think about.
She really has.
She's challenged us to rethink where we find wisdom.
To take action towards our goals.
And to remember the power of perspective.
And she's done it in her own unique way.
Raw, real, and unapologetically herself.
A reminder that personal growth doesn't have to fit a mold.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah?
I'm curious, what will you take away from Simone's story?
What resonated with you?
And what's one small step you can take today to move closer to the life you want?
Remember, every journey starts with a single step.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time.